Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. Another one on the on our playlist of Friday Lottos. Although this was like it was nothing special, like not like our last Lotto Friday. This was everything was took over by gaming, and the gaming craze. So we'll discuss gaming in the end as well. So everything was taken over by that, but we did have some decent news plays in the morning, decent winners and a couple losers. So we'll go through all of them. Anyways, just a quick introduction to anybody who's new to my YouTube, new to my Twitter, or new to my community. All these trade recaps and teachings are from any trade ideas or any of my guidance that I share on YouTube or Twitter or in my community. Um, these trades, I take some of them, but I don't trade all of them. But I guide my community through these trades, and a lot of these trade ideas is also from the traders in the community trading floor. So we will go through all those. We try to see how we made money, how we lost money, why did we sit on the hands, and how did we trade, because we do not trade random. We trade repeatable system, my repeatable system that thousands of traders around the world use, and then we play repeatable setups day in day out. Every day we just repeat the same setups is what you trade, system is how you trade, and these are two pillars of my trading philosophy, with another two pillars being your goal and risk management. So every day, before the market opens, my team is we get together, we create a game plan for the day. We game plan for the day, and this is the game plan you see. We have all the watch lists, all the earning plays, support, resistance, and initial buys before the market open. I give that to the community. In addition to that, we also have what we call as our daily levels. You can pause the screen and see how these levels worked out. On a choppy day, these levels, they help us manage to see if we are breaking out or not. On a trend day, these levels really help us to have some nice good trades. So we focus on these levels, especially on a trend day. So we provide this to the community every day in the morning. Then we also have something called crypto levels. For example, if we are trading coin mstr or any other crypto stocks, we use these levels to have a bias and use it with our system, and to provide us some good opportunities to make some money with the trades, having some defined risk analysis as well. So in addition to that, we also have what we call as our day to day three levels. So these day to day three levels are the strategy that I have invented. So how to trade these day to day three setups. I have covered this in my free webinar that I did. If you want to watch this webinar, it's also in my community. You can join and watch it. So these were our day to day three setups. We'll see if something triggers from them, then we trade it. Like Lulu triggered, and we were trading Lulu from it, and then five triggered. So some of them trigger, some don't. Lift triggered, but it didn't really work. So the lift was a loser today there. So we go through all these plays, day to day three setups. Let's start with the first play of the day. So guys, first one we're going to discuss is DocuSign. Let's see what was our plan on DocuSign. Always look at the morning plan and then we analyze, right? So our DocuSign beat the EPS by 3 cents, revenue beat, but it still was fading down, right? If you listen to my other educational posts, beat doesn't really mean anything. Just the beat does not really mean anything. Anyways, so let's look at it. So trade versus 50. That was my plan. I told everybody to trade DocuSign versus 50. If pushes over the cloud, long over 50. Otherwise, short versus 50. Pretty straightforward plan, guys. You do not need much. Even without clouds, you could trade it. But the clouds and the levels give us some really nice conviction to make it a repeatable setup. Anyways, so I saw DocuSign
was over, it was pushing. Just a 3 minute chart here just to show you. Then it break 50. I shorted it right at the morning. I shorted it, and then from the short it hit 48.70, 49. I covered half size there, little bit. I was on the shares, and I told everyone to move the stops break even. So the point was, if you short it, let's say you short right here, 50, 50, 30, 50, 20, you move your stops break even. Then it came back, it stopped us out, break even. If you just traded the amateur move, you made like, you made 70, 80 cents. If you had 1,000 shares short, you made 700, $800. And rest of it, you stopped out break even, because it came back, right? So when it came back, 48 was my target, but I told everybody to move the stops break even. You can see that 937. And when it's reclaimed 50, we stopped out. We stopped out, break even, not a loser. We stopped out because, right, you have to, either you are in at the open or you wait. So anyways, so we stopped out and then we were watching. So I told everybody, watch, it is reclaiming 50 curls on the watch. And then I saw it making this nice little tight pattern of the flag. So that's when I told everybody, can add starters, small pullbacks to the cloud, add starters small size, if especially if it pulls back to the cloud, and if it pushes over the clouds, then add into your position. So that was my guidance. And so Doku pushed so nicely. When I told that, it pushed nicely from 50 60s all the way to 5180s, right? So $1 push, very nice. And then you see this red candle, it comes back. Then I tell everybody, this is the candle you add. You don't panic because this is the pullback. This is the pullback, and this is where you add. And it pulls back, holds it. Our stops are still right there, 50 50s. That's what I'm talking about. And then it holds it, and then pushes again, pushes to 50 to 30. So gave us a nice little trade. Then it kind of broke 512, still over 3450. In the cases when 512s and 3450 are very close, you can risk 3450 as well because they are very close, right? There's not much difference. There's barely like 30 cents, 40 cents difference here. And anyways, it reclaimed it right away, and it reclaimed, and then it pushed again to 53. So even if you stopped out here, that's fine. You still made, you risked 30, 40 cents, and you made like, you made like $1 or something, a little more than a dollar. But if you held using 30, 40, 34, 50 risk, then you made decent money, right? So was not like a crazy mover, but you could see that if you traded with the shares, there was opportunity to make money, opportunity to short it, and opportunity to long it. When I told long here at 50.70, because this was our EMA Clouds right here, 34.50 reclaim and steady trend to the upside. So Doku was a decent trade there, nothing special, but decent trade. Is on watch for day two. We will watch for continuation as well.
So next one we're going to discuss is five. So five is from our day to the day three setup. So five had earnings a few days ago, and we've been watching it, and so that's why. So let's look at five. 1 second, let me see here. So five was our day to day three setup. So levels on the five was 117, 119.45. So in the morning, my price alerts on five, they just started to trigger. So you see that how the five, we traded five successfully the other day. Um, it was really nice trade the other day for us. So that's why we keep these plays every day on our day to day three list, just like I covered in my webinars. So once that was initial amateur move rejected, that's fine. But look at this pullback, right? It reclaimed that support level that I showed you in the pre-market, and then it held the 3450 clouds, and then all day push on five because it's a gap setup. There's a daily gap. So this is a gap long setup and a day two, day three setup. That's why it becomes a little high probability day two, day three setup. That's why you follow the earnings even after the days of earnings. That's how I built my strategy. That's how we can find these winners, very consistently. Yeah, so you can see the price alerts going in. I personally didn't trade it, but a lot of traders in community really did well on five. If I show you that, really, everyone was doing good on five. Honit was on top of it. Honit, guided everybody through the community. Daniel was on top of it. Ali Koran, a lot of freakers trade was on top of it. So a lot of, you see how community is all day helping each other with these trades, with this guidance. So five was a big win for the community, and this was the midday setup that I teach. This was like a 3450 setup
that I often teach. Let's go to the next one.
So next one we're going to discuss is BRZE. BRZE. So what was the plan on BRZE? Let's go back and look at the morning plan on BRZE. So let's go to our morning play sheet. BRZ was gap fill under 4050 long over. So that was the plan on BRZE. 4050 was our level, and we were, and resistance was 4250. So 4050 was the level that we prepared in the pre-market, and you can see the 50 EMA clouds are right there. You can see it's already breaking 512 Ripster EMA clouds. So right here you showed at 40 bucks, and it fades for the full gap fill to 37 area. So that's a $3 short. Even if you risk 60-70 cents, you made $3. That's one risk, 1 to 445 reward trade. So here's my timestamped guidance. I was also on the voice. Then that was the morning trade, and then BRZE, it bounced. I had existed the most, but a lot of traders did trade this midday reject. So this was a midday reject. So a lot of traders in the community were still shorting that one. You can see RGB was guiding whole day on that guidance 39.70. So RGB was all day providing the guidance on this short, right? So we already made a money on that one. So you get out most of it. You don't get out fully, right? Because it's never got out of 512s, because because I'm short here, so I don't care. It can bounce. I'm still profitable, because if my entry is here, I hold all day. I end up making more money by end of the day. So you have to respect these rules, right? You might get out here, but then you get back right back in the short once it breaks this 3450. So it was a gap fill short, right? It filled the gap initially. That's why it was bouncing. But there was never really a long here. We were not supposed to long it. We were only supposed to short it, right? So when it was fading to 37, I told everybody to lock the 60% position. If you held on to your 40% position, there was another opportunity to lock it. And even right here, you can see lower highs. You can always look at 1 hour candles, right? So look at 1 hour candles. The 1 hour candle is still under the clouds, bearish. This is rejecting the 1 hour 3450 EMA. So always look at this as well, the 1 hour candle 3450 EMA, so that so you can see here. So you can see how this is kind of fading in the right. So that was a great trade. BRZE long trade, short gap fill, repeatable. I have shown you this setup every day. So let's look at next one. Next one was a lift. Lift was our day 3 setup. It was pushing over the 16, so I liked it as a long. If I go show you guys, lift, what was my levels? So the 1640, 1588, so those were my kind of two levels. So when it started to break out over there, that's where we took it long, and it was working fine, but then it rejected, broke 512s, and then broke 3450. So you take a loss here and you just get out. I mean, you can short it, but I was not really interested. And because it was a setup, right? We were expecting it to hold this and push. It did not push, so hence it was a loser. We just need to respect our system. But if you see, the loser has to be small, right? How big was this loser? Maybe 40 cents, 50 cents. That's it, right? We did not let the loser become $1, $2. So that's how we keep losers small and winners big. So that's the core principle that we need to follow, so that if we respect our system, then we will let the losers be small. If we do not respect our system, then we just hope and pray that, oh, it's okay, maybe I should not take a loss, maybe I can make a money, maybe it bounces. It's never going to work that way, right? So anyways, so lift, there was a loser. Yesterday it was a short, today again loser. Every bounce is getting sold. Very bearish action, right? It was bounce sold yesterday, today, and it just fades. Let's look at next one. Next one was actually a huge winner for us in the community. It was MTN. So let's go back and see what was the setup on MTN. So let's go here. So let's go here. So let's look at the plan on MTN. What was our plan on MTN? So our plan on MTN was pretty straightforward. MTN earnings and lowers guidance, right? The lowers guidance, that's why it was bearish. 176 was the support, 180, 184 was the resistance. Short the pops to the cloud. I clearly told everybody, short the pops to the clouds. So what happens? Okay, so MTN opens, it's bearish right away. So when that's the case, you can take the short starter right away. And then there's a 10 a.m. flag breakdown. So I told everybody short the pops, but the reason I tell everybody to short the pops is I don't really want anybody to hit the bids. I want them to sit on the asks, right? And if I go to 3-minute chart, So I can show you there, there was definitely initial drop and then some pops. Even it was not a big pop, but you can start it. You can start a position. It was not a big pop, but you can start a position. So anyway, so MTN was a fade, was a short when I told everybody 940s, then 171s, hit 170, and then hits 165. So where was my support level? Look here. What support level did I give? 176. So it broke 176 right away. So you know that that's your risk for the short, and then it fades. It's almost a $9 short. Even if you were late, let's say you were short at 173 and you risked like $2, you still made $7 $8 risking 1:3 reward trade. The 170 puts went almost 100%, so that was a good trade. So you can see that, guys, right? The pre-market guidance, the plan, and the timestamp here, and then comments. So it was a good. So this kind of short trades I go usually go for nice full size, and and then it started to base here. You see 165 hit. That's where I gave the warning. Don't let red the turn, green turn red. But then it gave a curl setup. This is the curl setup that I teach every time. MTN for the nice curl. This is where it confirmed the curls, but although there was a basing here, so you can do a D minus curl setup, and then it curls over here, and then you can take the curl all the way to 173, 174 to make $4 or $5, right? So MTN was another nice trade by the community, beautiful trade, and so it was nice. So beautiful trade, right? So MTN curl, strike price was on curl, and the curl was right here. So that was nice. So next one we're going to discuss is IoT, right? So let's look at IoT. So what was the plan on IoT? So IoT EPS beat, bearish to short the pop. So that was the plan. And if you see that, it made like a big candle right before the market opened, and then it kind of faded right away. So I was bearish to short the pop, but I missed that entry from the cloud pop, right? It was a cloud pop, and you could short it right there, but we missed it. I personally missed it. So you could see that it was right away. Be wary of these big pushes or big pulls right 5 minutes before the market open. Those can be a little dangerous, right? So you don't want to see these 5 minute candles up or downs right before the market open, because you don't really know what it's going to do right when the market opens. But anyways, right, so it was on a 10-minute cloud rejection. If you see, it's also rejected 512s on 512s on so you can see that, so that's what it did, right? It rejected. So it confirmed the short. I mean, if it was not really too late to short it, even when it did that, because we have this level. So let's look at our levels, right? What was my level that I gave? So the first level I gave was a 30 support and 3150, 3240. So this resistance, right? This area was from pre-market. That's where it rejected. So you can always draw these levels, so you know that where to show. So IoT was, so it was confirming the short, but right away it reclaimed that 30 level. So that is a problem, right? When it reclaims this 30 support level, that means it's not going to fade. And then after that, it went all the day in the chop. So you just have to cut your short right here and just leave it alone, because there's no trade here. Such a small range, such a small ATR. So it's not worth the time. If you got the morning short, that was good. Otherwise it was not. And then there was a curl. I actually alerted the curl when it started to curl over this area, but it was not worth it, not enough range. Let's go to the next one. Let's look at GameStop now, right? So what was our plan on GameStop? How did we manage it? It took a whole of a day. There's so much drama, but overall it was a bearish trend all day, right? If you look at the EMA Cloud, it was a bearish trend all day. So our plan on GameStop this morning was we will only trade if 512 curls long. The support was 34, resistance was 40, 46, right? So 46 was my resistance. So look where it rejected, right around that 46 area, that 3450 cloud. So basically, if you're adding here, you're adding right into the resistance. So you should not be adding right into this resistance zone that you see here. So this is not where you should add. This is, you should either short it or you should wait for like a rejection or something, because this is a resistance zone. We did scalp long when it pushed over in the amateur move over this 512s, And but then when it came back, I sold my last lotos. So so there was a lot going on in gaming today, as you guys know. So was a good long for us. If you remember, let me show you actually. Let me go back, show the complete trade on GameStop. How did we trade it? What was the plan? So let's go back. Let's do the complete thread before it tanked this morning. And of course, I warned everybody that when these kind of setups, there's always a risk of SCC coming, doing something. There's always a risk of company doing something, and so you don't size crazy. You don't really put a portfolio in. You just do a lot of size, low risk. That's all you do. So I just want to show you the complete trade that is on my timeline that I guided, or even free on my Twitter. A lot of people did make good money on this idea. But let's see. So it's all started on June 5th, and it was turning the 1 hour bullish, right? 28 bucks. And you see breakout. That's where we were long, our first target. Then you see this 1 hour chart, right? Here's resistance at 30, 32, two levels to break out, and still right there, breaking out. And then we break out after hours, and we have another flag at 33. So from our 28 idea, 1 hour trade chart, and then we break out. You saw that flag, and then next day we break out. My target was 40 that I gave everyone in the community, and we hit our 40 target in the community, and then gamma kicked in, and then we started to push more. My ultimate target was 48 that I gave to the community, and this was yesterday. Yesterday trade when we were trading it in the community, everybody was long on gaming, and then you see this resistance from the last big push. That's why I was targeting as that. So you saw that 47.50, and we were rolling 35 calls, 40 calls, 48 calls, 50 calls. So we were just doing the lotto options all day. And I did tell everybody that we can have our 50 lottos, we can swing it. And of course, a lot of us were trading it after hours. We can swing it, and we'll see how that goes. And my target was 50. Then you see that after hour, when the squeeze started, you don't even need to look at what Roaring Kitty is saying. You just follow the system, the Ripster EMA Cloud system, and then that would give you the trend. That would give you the trend, how it's moving, how it's going. So you see that the big push right there. So 60 target. After that, I gave everybody 60 target, and then 65 target. So you see that I gave these two targets, and we did meet the 65 target, right? 60 target, 65 target. Now there was a problem. That's because it was getting extended, and I told everybody need some breather to reset the trend, right? And that's what happened. It rejected from the breather because they did an offering, and it came back. Our 50 lotos lost all money. We had a good trade yesterday, so no big deal. So 50 lotos went to zero, and that was it, right? That was it. And then in the morning it tried to push right over 512s. That's what we scalped from 40s to into this 48 resistance in the community. And then you see, once it rejected 3450, and we sold our position, we closed our position right here, 512 breakdown, and then it was a short. And I was on the voice, and we were talking about the how it can be a sell the event on GameStop. And you don't even need to listen what he's saying. You just trade the trend, right? So we fail here, 512s. It's a short. We were actually short here. And then it tries to push, fails again, and then he tries to push in the same resistance zone. Now this is the resistance zone. So it's all technically, guys, right? You don't really need to listen, but you know what's happening. You just follow the clouds. This was again a short. You take the puts here at 35 all the way to 27. The puts really went crazy, but there were too many holds happening, so that kind of made the trading a little tough. But so it's tough and frustrating because you have to manage your position closely. By the time you're trying to close it, it holds up. So there's a lot of things going on, you know so at the end of the day, there was definitely I think one of the lotto trades I lost my profit because it squeezed right on my face, and I was trying to close it. But then finally at the end of the day, was able to trade next week's lotto options for nice shorts, um, right here on this fade. And then I closed everything after end of the day because it was not worth it. IV was lot, spreads was lot, volume was dying down. But you need to understand the psychology of this complete trade. that I explained it to you on the 1 hour chart. How did we start from 28? How did we go to 67? And you can see that when 1 hour trend breaks, so it's important to understand this is when, so 1 hour trend breaks, this is when the trend ends. This is where the trend starts. This is where the trend ends. It's not hard. It's not too tough to understand because you play by rules of the Ripster 1 hour EMA clouds, right? So you play by rules of Ripster's 1 hour EMA clouds. After our data, a lot of volume. So you know that, and if you go back, you see bearish, 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 bullish, 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 bullish. So you can see the trend. You don't really need the news. You just need a bigger picture of view of the trend. What's happening, right? This is a downtrend line, downtrend channel. We break out, and that's how I saw this. That's why I alerted this at 28. So this is the complete history life cycle of our last week. This week? What happened with the GameStop, guys? Definitely, we made money. We don't get biased. We are, so it was a lot of opportunities in community today. So we'll see what happens next. The story continues, but remember never to get biased. Always to use a system. Always trade with the system. Never ever trade without a system. So that was a complete trade guidance on GameStop. Hopefully, you guys learned a lot from this process. And as always, never anything hindsight from me. I always show you before and after my thesis. And this was a good trade for all of us. Let's go to the next one. So let's just look at what NVIDIA was doing. I personally did not really trade NVIDIA, but you can see that NVIDIA was this was a breakout mid of the day, 512 calls. I did alert everybody that NVIDIA is breaking out, curling, and you could, a lot of community traders traded this 512 curl in NVIDIA. Your risk is right 1190s, and then it's breaking out, and always there's a resistance at pre-market highs. It's going to be split on Monday, so we will be watching closely. Is it a sell the event or what it is? We might even sell after the split, frankly, right? And maybe we bounce back later. So anyways, this was the trade on Nvidia here. Maybe you can find some so I told everybody Nvidia were 512s, good scalps, and 1216, 1219 was the resistance on the lotos. This was all the community trade on the trade floor, and they were trading it. And then this was the trade right here to the long 1216s. That's the target I gave. 1219 if it crossed 1216s. So let's look at some other names like ODD. So ODD was our news play. So let me show you. And share buyback plan guidance. It was lacking volume at the open, so I didn't really look at it. But 43 was our breakout. So you see here, and then ODD started to break out, right? And I didn't have a position because I was focused on GameStop. But you see that it started to push out, and then it breaks out of the 43 breakout I gave. And then the guy on ODD was on CNBC. A lot of traders were trading ODD. These quiet ones are actually better movers. So I just want to point out, even though it was not my trade, that from the pre-market plan, from the 43 breakout, it was steady long all day. Ripster EMA clouds all day. And then it broke out. And I told everybody, if you're long, do not cut until 512 break. And 512 finally broke right here. And that's where you cut, because there's a lot of distance between 512s and 3450s. So it was a decent play. I think we keep watch for day 2 as well. Quiet names, CEOs on CNBC today, I think. Another one that I didn't personally trade was a Triple M. So let's look at Triple M. What was the plan on Triple M? What was going on there? So let's see. So next one we're going to discuss was Triple M. So Triple M, another one which was not my trade. Let's see. So Triple M, the news was Bank of America increases the profit target, right? So again, what do I teach you in previous videos? Whenever there's a tier 1 upgrades, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, the stock always moves. And it was 100 psychological level, and it held the clouds, and it held the support, and it was all day trend. So it was good. These upgrade trades are usually good. All you need to do is risk under the clouds and trade it all day. Better with the shares, not with the options. All right, let's wrap it up with the gold, right? So gold, there was a news on gold. So you see that China holds gold buying for the reserves. So that's why it was bearish. And also the job report was pretty good. So that is a macro event that impacts the gold price. Gold price goes down. So support was 34.50, resistance was 35.10. And if you see that GDX, it's a gold miners. I mean, you could trade any other gold, any other thing related to gold, gold futures, gold derivatives, whichever, right? And gold ETF you could trade. Everything was bearish, but we focused on GDX because it's gold miners ETF. And once broke this, and then it kept fading all day. So you could, so it was all day heavy, so nothing special to talk about it. It was definitely a trade that community was doing. Honit was on top of gold all day. Great guidance by Honit in the community. But if I look at gold overall, we are just, this is a big level. It has been running, gold has been running crazy for a long time. So this is the CFD on gold. There's other gold we can check as well. We can check the gold futures. So all of them, you see that what we are doing here is we are this support, and if I look at weekly chart, this is what we are holding. Maybe we bounce from here. I mean, overall gold always goes up, but the point is it broke out this year. Right here was a big breakout on gold, and that was in March, and it went up from 21 to that price. So now if we break this level, then it's going to pull back, maybe give us more short opportunities on the, and to the con on the other side of the coin, if we hold this level, maybe we flag for next leg up. So we don't know. It's very macro heavy. I'm not a macro expert. Gold. So definitely something to keep eye on gold. We see what it happens. Definitely it pulls back. Good opportunity for a lot of people to buy gold. A lot of people are buying Costco gold coins, and you can always buy an ETF long term. Buy it and forget for whole your life. You can do a lot of things with gold, but you can clearly see how gold is breaking out and now flagging. So something we keep on watch in coming days. Doesn't, there are many derivatives. I will put a list of other gold derivatives that you can trade. There are some stocks which related to gold that you can trade. There are futures. There's a Barrick Gold Corporation and a lot of stuff, right? So that you can really trade. But anyways, gold was GDX was our short in the community today, is breaking 50 EMA. So you see that it kind of mimics overall how gold moves. So maybe we get more shorts. So something to keep eye on gold, and we will do that. And hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Happy Saturday, happy Sunday, and I see you guys Monday. Take care. Bye bye.